Hello everyone and welcome to the walkthrough and unboxing of the Sacred Geometry cards for the Visionary Path. This is the companion or the second half of the Oracle Sacred Geometry Oracle cards by Francine Hart. So she made this one first and I made a video about this one, so if you guys want to check that out and watch it, it's on my channel and I'll also link it below. And this is the second half. Now a lot of people view these decks as different. I could not decide between getting one or the other. So I, of course, ended up getting both of them. Because in my mind, I've been flirting with this deck for a while. I've been looking at it online. I've been watching walkthroughs. And every time I kept saying like, no, they go together. I feel like they're almost one big, beautiful deck. And honestly, I do put them together. There is a video for that too, of how I use them both together. This video is just about the Visionary Path, the red box. It does kind of make for a pretty thick deck when you put them together. They're both 64 cards each. So when you put them together, you have 128. So here we go. It opens up like a drawer. The box is pretty sturdy. It's pretty big, but also pretty sturdy, so I'm happy with that. Now, here's the book. It's pretty thick, and I'll show you guys. Now, the one thing is there is no ribbon that you can pull to lift the book, so you kind of have to use your nail to lift it, which I'm okay with because there's no damage yet to the book, but I will eventually glue probably a ribbon, just because I know that the more I keep using it, the more I'm going to keep using, like pulling it that way, and eventually it will cause some sort of damage to the cover. However minute or small it may be, I'm going to know that it's there and I'm going to see it, so I know that it's going to bother me. If it doesn't bother you, totally cool. No worries. So we have, how big is this book? 145 pages. Like I said, 64, and they're pretty much all like this. We have the black and white art, and then what the card means. We get some keywords as well, which I appreciate. Then we have what it means, and also reversed meanings. Not every card gets a reversed meaning, but most of them do. So here we go through the table of contents. Sacred Geometry and Beyond. What is Sacred Geometry? Conscious Evolution. Crop formations, which is interesting. So there's a bit of a lesson here in this book about where you can find Sacred Geometry beyond just the Oracle. You got reverse card meanings, how to use the deck, and then we have the different spreads here. Introduction. I'll show you this, but this is in black and white, the back of the cards. It's actually really beautiful in color, and I'll show you guys in a second. So here you go, suggestions for reading the cards, reversed, and spreads. We got the Synergy spread. We have Earth in Balance. This moment, Earth's history. Interesting, so this is a very collective reading. A call to action, sustainability, and hope for the future. I actually really love this. I'm gonna do this spread. We get a Conscious Choice spread. We have a Merkaba spread. Actually, here she's calling it Evolving the Dream spread, which that's actually really cool. But I just call it a Merkaba spread because that's what the shape is. We have a Seed of Life spread and a Spiraling Visions. That's really cool. So I'll be very honest with you guys. I haven't done any spreads with this deck yet because it is somewhat new to me. I know this deck has been around for a while, but it is new to me. And these are the meanings of everything. So because this deck is new to me, and I find actually this deck to be really profound. So I have been just, when I meditate, I pull one card and I just kind of sit with it for a little bit. And I absorb it, and then after I kind of spend a minute, I read the book. But I haven't done a full spread yet because I'm still trying to get myself familiarized with the cards. So here you go. So we have these little dips for your fingers. You can pull them out. Now here's one thing that I will critique on. These finger holes are not that deep. So it takes a minute for you to pull the cards, right? I see I still have like a few stuck in there. And same thing for the other half. Now, this doesn't bother me so much because personally, when the cards come divided like this, I usually leave them out. I put them in a bag and I leave them out for easier access because I don't want to go through this every time, right? So you see, like, it takes a minute for you to organize everything. And there was still one stuck to the bottom. So, you know, just little pet peeves that we go through, but no big deal. We're just being honest here. Here we go. These are the backs of the cards. Now, don't worry. Only the back is horizontal, which honestly, if it's like this, doesn't really bother me that much either because it's so intricate and beautiful, and we have rainbows and we have a sun in the center and we have this like almost like a Mayan calendar, right? And then the storm and the sea, and it's like super intricate. 64 cards. Now I will be showing you guys all of the cards, so if you are planning on getting this deck and you want to be surprised, you don't want to see all the cards, then you can skip ahead. You can skip this part altogether. You can just maybe watch a minute of it, but I will be showing you all of them. Okay. Now, like I said, there are reversal meanings of the cards. The back is not fully reversal, but honestly, it's so beautiful and intricate, and that doesn't bother me. Like, I'm not, you know, when I see like this, if I'm doing a reading and I see the backs like this, I'm not bothered by it. But I know some people are, so just to let you know that. Okay, so first one is One Drop. Phase Mandala, the Kiss. So you see that the sacred geometry is very intricate and very heavy in this deck. Obviously, it's called the sacred geometry cards. So it's very prominent. Now, especially this one, let's say the Earth Prayers, right? If you take a minute with it, at first glance, you get this big circle and then the earth. But then you keep looking at it, and then you see that there are hands on the sides. And on top of those hands are the flowers of life. Then you have the earth grid here. And then you have like, there's so many layers to it that if you just take a few seconds to spend time with the artwork, you will kind of get lost in it a little bit. So I really like that. That's why I've been using it a lot for meditations. The fire keepers, we got the triangles. And then we have the simple shapes, or you know, the simple artwork, I guess you would call it, because this is very intricate, very beautiful, very artistic and visionary, right? But then we have the tetrahedron. So it's the shape of what these cards were built on. So you got the tetrahedron, you have now Trinity, so we go back to the artwork and the more complex version of the shape. Flaming tropicals. So you get this bird of paradise flower, but then you have the fire on the back, and then you have these triangles, these tetrahedrons in like, you know, overlayered with the flower. So there is like just layers and depth to each image. I find it to be really beautiful. See, we have a DNA strand here, and dolphins and whales, and then we have the earth here. It's just super awesome. Divine Mother. The star tetrahedron, also known as a Merkaba. Now, I actually find this deck to have a really good balance between a masculine energy and a feminine energy together. I do, you know, like for example, I have the Work Your Light Oracle, and I love that deck. I use it very often. Ho'oponopono Sunset. But it is a very heavy feminine energy, which, listen, ain't nothing wrong with that. I love that. But I'm just making a comparison that in this deck, I find there's a really good balance between the feminine and the masculine energies. The hexahedron or the cube. actually like that she did this. I feel like she did this with like maybe paper. She folded it out and took a picture of it and put it on the card. I actually like that because we're seeing a 3D image of the shape, you know, of the sacred geometry. So I like that a lot. See, there's like circles and the hands and all that. It's just Antakarana, purification, meditation. And you see, we got that spiral, the Fibonacci sequence, don't we? If we just cut that in half and we see that big spiral, it's the Fibonacci spiral. But then you put, you know, side by side and facing each other, then we have a heart. Like, it's just really cool to see that, right? Piercing the veil, isn't that interesting? I think that this deck has a little bit of everything for everybody. Like, we got some people love mermaids, right? So we got mermaids here. We had the dolphins earlier. Then we had a Andean shaman. Then we had this freedom of love, which feels to me very angelic. Right, new beginnings, the divine mother. Night into day. This is very earth-based, pagan, shamanic. So, you know, or we have this constellation here in the center, so it can be a little bit galactic too. Like, I don't know, I find this deck to have a little bit for everybody. Dodecahedron. So she gives you the shapes, right? The sacred geometry. And then the artwork is how we can see that sacred shape in the world, right? In nature, for example. Or how we can create beautiful artwork and meditative artwork, right? You take a few seconds to look at this, and there are layers upon layers upon layers of art. We have hearts, we have dolphins, right? We have the hexahedron, like with people in the center. So it's also community. So there, you know, and this green here to me is speaking of the earth. So, you know, emissaries of love. How can we be these emissaries? How can we be a community of love? Like, I don't know, it's what I'm picking up from this card, but there are layers to it. So that's why I haven't quite done a full spread with it yet, because each card is so profound that you can get lost in it. You can use it for meditation practice, you know? Now, Francine Hart lives in Hawaii. So as you guys saw, we had a Ho'oponopono card, and then this is second Pele card, which is a volcanic, the goddess of the volcanoes or something like that. So she lives in Hawaii, so there's very Hawaiian-based stuff. You know, I think even this background is like a Hawaiian sunset, you know? So I love that. That's why I think there's a lot of green and a lot of just nature-based. Now, as you noticed, I'm sure the borders are different colors. And there is no rhyme or reason to it other than it complements the artwork of, you know, of that card. And it doesn't bother me. I think it actually just makes it for a really beautiful and colorful deck. It doesn't bother me that they're different colors. And the borders aren't so big and obnoxious where I'm like, can we just cut the border out? It doesn't bother me. So you have this angel for the lesson. So there is, honestly, I see a lot for, you know, I see a little bit for everybody. We got the heart Taurus, green Taurus. Wheels of light would be the chakras, right? Love it. Healing waters. I work with the elements a lot. So I love seeing like elemental embrace, for example. Then we have fire and air and water and earth and like all that just happening. I love that. We have the infinity symbols here for infinite wisdom. Absolutely beautiful. Octahedron. Octomotion. I like that. The icosahedron. shadow and grace. To me, kind of has a bit of a light and dark kind of thing, or a yin yang kind of energy. So I like that a lot. The jade meander, and finally receiving. So let me show you guys what the meanings usually are. Okay, so let's look at receiving. Let's look at the book and see what the book says. So here we go. Receiving. Then we have some keywords, readiness and receptivity. So it says here, in the beginning here it says this is the final card in the sacred geometry cards for the visionary path. Embedded in the background of this image is stunning geometry that appeared as a crop formation in 2003. So that's actually really cool. So she's taking things from real life and putting them in the cards. Embedded in the background of this image is that crop shape. Okay. The figure is charged with readiness and receptivity. Her outstretched arms and open hand chakras are expressions of trust, openness, and infinite potential. She is a lightning rod and receptor of universal information and infinite wisdom. DNA spirals appear as pillars or antennas in support of readiness. I think that's really powerful. I love that. I absolutely do love that. And don't forget, we do have hand chakras. I know we talk about the main 7s, and those are the main big ones. But we have hand chakras. We have feet chakras. We actually have a lot of different chakras, but the main ones are the main 7s. And that's okay. You don't have to know all of these. But I do love that she brings that into it. Now, the reversed meaning is, you are reluctant to accept your role in evolution of consciousness. Ask for guidance and assurance so that you may more fully participate in this important time in human history. So anyway, I think that's really powerful, and you can spend a good while just looking at the cards, looking at the colors even, right? We got so much green, heart chakra going on, but also DNA activation, and we have this divine feminine energy who's very connected to the earth, but also connected to the cosmos. There is just a lot going on in this deck, and I really, really love it. I'm so glad I took the plunge and I got it. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope that this I hope that this walkthrough and unboxing has brought you clarity for what this deck can do. All right, guys, have a beautiful day out there.